we are live.
Welcome, welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. We have got a really good show for you today. We have got two special guests with us today that are going to help us answer a question that we are getting all over the place. And the question is, what now? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to keep this momentum going? And the answer is simply grow where you're planted. What are you good at? You don't have to be all things. You don't have to be everything you see on social media, the picture perfect activist. You can just leverage what you're already good at and start there. So today we're going to talk to two different people. We're going to talk to a filmmaker who has made a viral video, who has almost 40 million views, I think. And yeah, and then we're also going to talk to the president of the PA Young Democrats, whose organization helped flip PA to the blue. So let's introduce ourselves. Hagir, you're here. So
hey, everyone, this is Hagir, and thank you again for joining us. John, can you introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are before we can dive in on big issues and
Absolutely.
You're doing the good troubles.
For sure. So my name's John Handem Piette. I'm a Brooklyn-based filmmaker, and for the last 2 years, I've been working actually at a company called The Dodo, which is a company that produces animal-branded content. So I was editing and producing uplifting stories around rescue animals and everything, and that was a lot of fun. But about 2.5 months ago, I just decided that I needed more, and I wanted to double down on my career and what was happening in the world. I just felt like I was called to action to do more, and so I quit my job in the middle of a pandemic, and I just decided to focus on my own scripts and my own projects. And yeah, I find myself where we are now, which is with a viral hit video that seems to have affected everybody a certain way. So hopefully good, but I know it's gotten out there, so that's been really exciting.
Lovely.
I can tell you, it affected everyone.
Yeah.
In a good way. It lifted so many spirits. I'm tagging a friend now who we're actually talking, a friend who's a realtor, and he is a good guy. When he heard you're coming on the show, he's like, I actually cried when Jan Lewis.
Wow.
I know, and he's a grown guy like you and I. I felt the same. I felt this way, and I said, no, we have to have you, or have to talk to you.
Awesome. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, I've been speaking about it a lot, but I guess this interview has the distinction of being my last, and I have a week of sort of introspection and hindsight to really process what's been happening around the video and the reaction to it. So I'm always happy to talk about it and the response I've gotten. So thanks again for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Play the clip quick, if you don't mind, and then we get back to, so people know what we're
Just take a look at all of these states that we've won tonight. And then you take a look at the kind of margins that we've won by. Frankly, we did win this election.
You shut up, man.
Vice President, I'm speaking.
On your left.
Oh my goodness.
I love everything about that.
Awesome.
It's just unbelievable. I mean, a lot of people don't think simple things or something that you already know can make a huge difference. And you are just setting a different example. So talk us through the process. What made you think, let me just do this?
So, the fateful night was that Thursday of the election. And I think, like many Americans, I was on the edge of my seat, lack of sleep, delirium setting in, but kind of feeling like on Thursday that, ooh, this thing looks like it's headed the right direction. But I was getting crazy, a little crazy. And so what I do when I do start to get a little crazy is I go to my happy place, which is to create. And so luckily, I had my laptop with me. I was up in New Hampshire at my parents' house taking care of my mom because she just had her knee replacement surgery. And so I had time on my hands. And I started with Stacey Abrams. I just thought, you know, she was such a pivotal figure, and she really delivered Georgia. You know, that her efforts in voter suppression in Georgia can't be understated in this election. And so I didn't know for sure I was going to edit a whole video, but I thought, let me put Stacey Abrams and Keisha Lance Bottoms, you know, mayor of Atlanta, let me put them coming out of the portal. And something clicked, you know, something magical happened, I think, when I saw that. And then my editor brain, my filmmaker brain was like, oh, you're going to have to do this. This is going to take hours, but like, yeah, make a pizza, get comfy, like get off the couch, like sit at the table and start like downloading a bunch of photos and start rotoscoping the heads, you know, in Photoshop, and start animating. And that's what I did. And it was for my friends, you know, it was a moment of levity for my friends. I think like a lot of us, I've turned to memes and to social media to just get some semblance of sanity out of our politics lately. And so I thought, let me contribute something to that and give something that's hopeful and happy and funny for us to celebrate, because we couldn't celebrate yet because the numbers were still trickling in and they weren't calling any of the states. And so Thursday at 4 p.m. I started, and I didn't finish until Friday at 7:30 a.m. So I pulled an all-nighter, which I wasn't sure I could do anymore. And released it, and the rest is history.
That was like the election, like anxiety day after day, and you're just like, screw it, I'm staying up.
Exactly.
Even at that point, I feel like there was a moment where we thought it was going our way, but there was just that fear I think we all had where we were like, I remember where I was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so being able to turn to something that was funny and honestly symbolic, all of the different things coming together, right. I think that's why I think it hit a nerve with so many different people. So what led you to filmmaking? Have you always been creative? Is that something you've always gone and been drawn to?
Yeah. You know, as a kid, you know, I was always fascinated by stories, especially fairy tales. And, you know, my parents had to read me the book, you know, at night, you know, it just like had to happen. And then that turned into me wanting to write my own stories, and then acting and being drawn to theater and the stage. And then once I was in high school, that's when I finally got my hands on a video camera and started just filming short films. And it was a straight and narrow path for me to film school. So I went to the University of Texas Film School. And yeah, I think what I love about filmmaking and storytelling is that, you know, I have a very sort of politically active family. We're very vocal. And I think storytelling kind of combines the best of what politics aspires to be, but often doesn't reach, because, you know, politics is political. It's like our better angels. It shows us an aspirational view of what humanity is capable of. And that's kind of how I was raised and how I am. And so I think naturally I just felt like I want to tell stories, and I want to make films that make people happy and make people emotional and bring people together and remind us what's really important at the end of the day.
Beautiful. I mean, it definitely came across. So
Thanks.
when you are doing it, how did you go about choosing who you wanted each person to be? Because like Hagir was saying, when John Lewis came on, I was like, oh my God. And like the way you combined everybody and there was all the personalities going on. What was your thought process there? Is that what took the longest time?
That actually didn't take some of them took longer than others. Some of them were some of the casting choices were super intuitive. Like, I just knew Mayor Pete needed to be Mayor Pete Parker. He had to be Spider-Man. You know, obviously Trump was going to be Thanos, and Biden was going to be Captain America. They kind of, a lot of them put themselves together. The ones that were the hardest, I think, to pick were, I guess Rocket Raccoon, who ended up being Sean Connery, which was a controversial choice. But like in the case of the deceased heroes that come out of the grave, so to speak, to come fight the good fight again, you know, John Lewis, RGB, RBG, sorry. That was just very like, it was a moment of inspiration just because I felt like they've just recently passed away. And so how uplifting is it going to be to see that they were here to see this moment? And I think that they are. I think that's why people have an emotional reaction to that, because they know that the seeds that those figures planted, including John McCain, they eventually bloomed, and they eventually saved our democracy. And so that stuff, I think, all just it was super intuitive and just kind of really put itself together. I'm very sort of politically active myself, so I think in the back of my head maybe I do associate politicians with heroes. And I just don't know it. And when I started editing the video, I just kind of knew who to put where,
Yeah.
But that was a very fun process for sure.
And I think for many of us, like with the memes, and like you said, it's a way for us to breathe loud or just make ourselves feel better. The idea of that, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
The idea of RBG and Lewis are looking and helping, guiding us through this. I think this, and I told you before we started that one of my friends said he cried. He said, I literally sat there and cried like a baby.
Wow.
Oh, man. And he's like, it just brought so many emotion. And that's and we can't say it's just because of the timing or it's that simple, but you are an amazing creative person, and you, like you said, you're politically active, you are active in other areas, and that all came together and showed in those 2 minutes and 34 seconds. They were powerful, I can tell you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that was honestly the most surprising part about all of this was how emotional everybody was getting about it, just because when you're animating something that intricate, you're working frame to frame and you don't really get a sense of what it plays like as a whole. So for me, working on it wasn't that emotional. It was more time consuming and laborious animating these heads to stay in place. And it's a long process, but I think by the time I played it back to watch finally at like 7:30 a.m., I think I was like kind of taken aback, like, what did I just make, And I think that the emotional reaction is a result of these past 4 years of the trauma I think we've collectively faced. And I think seeing how everybody, no matter what part of the political spectrum that they land on, knowing they're on the right side of history and that they have to do their small part to make change happen, make positive change happen, and bend that moral arc of the universe towards justice. We saw that happening, I think, during that week of the election, and maybe my video captured a little iota, a little piece of that feeling. And I think that allowed people to let the emotions out that they've had from the past 4 years. And also one comment, a lot of comments I've been getting are saying that this is the definitive version of this scene for them now. It's a big scene in Marvel lore, in that movie. And that's the biggest movie of all time. And so I hope I didn't ruin the scene for people, but I do think that for me anyway, me personally, I do feel like those political figures that I put in there, they're larger than life people. Mm-hmm. And they've done real work. They've done real heroic work that nobody sees. Nobody sees what they're doing in their office. No one sees the phone calls they're making, the miles that they have to walk, knocking on doors. And so I think the emotional reaction also comes from seeing people who really are heroes in their own way, depicted as these fictional characters. And so there's weight to it because it's grounded in reality, I think.
Yeah. Another theme that we've kind of been touching on too is you can do everything you're really good at, but you also need people around you that are going to help you kind of like level up to that next level. So when you posted it, if you could kind of like trace the trajectory, was there a moment where you were like, whoa, like where someone else took it? So like, did LeBron retweet?
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
LeBron! Like, there has to be a moment where it was kind of normal being enjoyed by your circle of influence, and all of a sudden it just went, can you trace that back?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've had a few other viral videos before, and I've had videos shared by high-profile people, but this was just a complete different level. So when I first posted it, I could tell just among my friends, wow, they love this thing, like based on the comments I was getting and the shares, I could just tell that it was on some crazy trajectory. I was trying to get sleep. It was early in the morning when I posted it, and I pulled an all-nighter, but my phone kept pinging, and I kept waking up and like looking over at my phone, like, what is happening right now? And so I knew that it was going viral. It was getting thousands and thousands of views and retweets. Then it started getting shared by other profiles, and people were reposting it because I didn't even really credit myself in it. It's easy to find out that I made it, but I didn't like blast my name all over it or put like created by John Handem Piette or anything like that. So I think people were resharing it like did this, and I think that was part of the mystique behind it. But those got more views than mine did. So mine got a combined like 45 million views across my social media platforms, but other people got way more than mine. So I think the views probably are closer to the hundreds of millions based on the media that I've seen from India and around the world, Ireland. There's weird places around the world where I get tons of messages, and I'm just like, who shared it, where, and how? But, when LeBron and Mark Hamill retweet your work, it's like bound to go global because they are legitimate heroes and heroes of mine. And when I saw LeBron retweeted it, my head exploded. I had friends texting me saying I didn't even see that he did it, but a friend of mine texted me and said, "Are you ready for this?" And then he sent me a post of LeBron sharing it. And then Mark Hamill, that was emotional. That's the first time I got emotional actually about anything surrounding this. Because he's Luke Skywalker and he's been a hero of mine as a Star Wars fan. And so I did shed a tear because he actually gave me credit. And he said, I've been informed that, John did this, and good job, John. So that was amazing.
I wanted to stop you earlier when you were talking because if I tag you on some post, you will think I was your friend and I know you. As soon as I saw people downloading this and I saw how amazing this movie is, I start Googling, and I did like maybe a 15-minute of search until I found you.
Wow.
Start retracing my steps back. Everyone illegally downloaded that video, and I copy, paste your page and told them, please take down what you just downloaded. You need to spread it to this person. Some friends were like, oh, we will. And some people were like, are you crazy? We don't even know you.
I appreciate that. A lot of my friends did that. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that. I fought because I know you put, I don't know you, but I know someone put a lot of work on something that became so good and made us all feel something. We need to know who you are and we need to give you credit. And it's so easy nowadays for people to download things and just it be lost in a transition,
Right.
And you don't have your name, you don't have anything at the end to show who you are. And I just typing superhero Trump Biden, start typing weird like things on my group. I came to your page, but anyways, I mean, next time when you use like that, you're gonna put your name, like sign it in the bottom.
Sure.
You deserve it for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I think it's pretty easy to find me, for sure.
It is.
But I think some people were just hopping on the coattails, hoping to get a bunch of views to their profile. I'm still learning how this social media stuff works. Yeah. So I think that's how people get a ton of followers too, is to just post stuff that's viral. And to some degree, I feel like I owned part of it, but I don't feel like I own it. I feel like it belongs to the world now, and it's a Marvel property, it's Disney property, and I think I combined some ideas we were all feeling, and it connected. And I think people who really know how much work it takes to edit and to know politics enough to know who to put where. I think those people could tell, like, oh, somebody knew what they were doing and made this. And I appreciate that, because some of the media that have reached out to me and some of the interviews that I've done, it's just been really humbling, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for it.
So I know you've done a lot of work before, like you did a lot of big stuff from before. This is going to, like, it got, you noticed more, I can say. And I see in your profile you did something with Idris Elba. I love him. Or you did something for him or something. So are you hopeful like this is going to, uh, are you seeing something? Are you seeing results now? Are you seeing people like reaching out to collaborate or get you work?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I have worked in the industry for a long time. I lived in Los Angeles for almost a decade. I've worked with some really fascinating people, but yeah, I think I have scripts I've been working on and films that I've been trying to get produced that weren't getting quite the momentum that I hoped. And this has definitely, like, I guess, put my name out there, and people have been reaching out, and people are interested to see what I have up my sleeve. I'm working on a documentary. I'm writing a couple of feature-length scripts, and there's a series that I want to get produced. So there's a lot that I've been working on over the years that I do hope gets some new life, and people have been reaching out, but I have a feeling it's just getting started. So I'm just thankful that I do have stuff that I'm working on to show, because if this was just a flash in the pan and all I had to show, it would still be a great moment, but I'd like to capitalize on it and do more content that's similarly diverse and unifying and emotional and uplifting.
So if you were to give advice to someone who's not quite sure what avenue they want to take, they see stuff like this, they feel inspired, but they're not quite sure what that first step is. What's the first step? Is it just doing it? Is it just starting? Is it just starting with that first thing, seeing if it lights a fire in you that you go all night and you pull an all-nighter? Is that what we should be telling people?
I think so. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that people need to follow their passions. I think the analogy of planting a seed and letting that seed grow, I feel like, yes, do stuff, make stuff, create, whatever your field is, it doesn't matter what it is. Every human being has a voice and a perspective that's interesting. And I think the arts and all fields are an expression of your voice. So if you can find the vessel, if you can find the thing, the vocation, for me, it's filmmaking and storytelling. And I love it so deeply that I'm always doing it in some form or fashion. I mean, this isn't the type of video I usually produce, but it's the result of years worth of me writing, years worth of me, even just consuming films that I love. And it all came together in one moment. And it's important to put your work out there too and receive criticism. I think that's the scariest part. I think a lot of us create in our own rooms and maybe share with one or two friends. And it's a really scary thing to put things out there and let people criticize them. But when you're learning, it is important to have positive feedback from people, because criticism can be debilitating. But so I think a good support system is really important too. Just somebody who's like, do it. Surround yourself with people who tell you to do things and tell you that you're good, and tell you that it matters what you're making. And then also don't be afraid to put it out there and see what maybe didn't resonate with people. And then the next time you get better, you learn. And there I think does come a point where you feel like the year's worth of work that you've put in, you get to a point where things do move in your direction and things do happen because you love what you do. And when you love what you do, people can tell and it resonates.
Yeah, well said. One last question, then we'll let you go. You said we're your last interview and then you get to relax for a bit?
Yeah.
I got you before you are on your.
I know. Good job, Hagir.
Take time to absorb and let this all sink in.
Right.
So would you say
we know places to go?
So would you say if you could go back, you would do it the same, positive feedback from everybody, and it's basically just been a ride you're holding on for?
As far as this video, you mean the reaction to it?
Even just the whole journey you're talking about putting stuff out there and then ending up here today.
Yeah. So, sorry, what's the question? That if that's
Have you, all the positive feedback, all the tribulations, everything you've done leading up till today, it's been positive and it's been worth it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it motivates me more. I think when you get this type of career validation, you are reminded how much more you have to offer, and how much people really want to see what you have to make because they remember how you made them feel. I think a lot of my work has done that on smaller scale, and so some of the most touching messages really have been from friends who've known me since I was a kid, or since I was creating in high school, and they tell me, yeah, the world gets to know what we already knew. They get to share what we've known all along, and those have been the most emotional messages because I have been doing this for a long time, and for it to be recognized on such a large scale, it lets me know to keep going, keep aiming high, and that there's an audience there for what I have to produce and to make, and so there's definitely more to come, and yeah, all the support has helped me tremendously.
Well, add us to your audience. We're watching you. We've loved everything. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for pulling the all-nighter.
Of course.
When we were all sitting in our individual houses, kind of like on the edge of our seats, you gave us something to watch and some levity. So we very, very much appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. It was my civic duty. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, take care. Enjoy your time off.
Will do. All right, take care, guys.
Thank you.
And we've got TJ with us. Hi, TJ.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
So TJ is our second guest of the show. He is going to continue on the theme of using your skills and things that you're naturally good at to bring about change. So do you want to just tell us your title, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you spend your days?
Sure. So my name is TJ DeLuca. I'm currently the president of the Pennsylvania Young Democrats. I stepped up to that role in January of this year, and I finish in September or October of next year. So I have a short, unique window to help advance Young Democrats in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I came to the position previously serving as a parliamentarian, which is obviously not a traditional path to becoming chair of an organization. And I spent a lot of my time working at helping people understand, navigate the rules and the hurdles around things like party politics and state government, local government, and federal government. My background is actually, though, in music. I'm a professional musician. I am a church organist and pianist, and I have a degree in jazz studies, and I'm a professionally trained opera singer. So that's what I normally spend the majority of my time doing. But now that we are under the auspices of a COVID quarantine and stay at home, I found that I have plenty of energy to turn elsewhere and help people achieve what they want to in terms of taking political action, which has been a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to say, if you started in January and you go till next year, that sounds like a nice gig, and then all of a sudden they throw in a pandemic. Why not?
It made everything change very quickly. I got like 3 or 4 weeks of normalcy, and then we're like, oh, things might change a little bit because we might have to deal with this COVID thing that might happen. I'm like, oh, well, we'll deal with it. It'll be fine, and then everything will go back to being normal, and it'll be fine. But people have surprised even me with my hopefully unending optimism with how quickly they were still able to reorganize and move everything onto Zoom and not just completely burn out. Because one of the hardest things is after people have been on Zoom or on whatever virtual work that they've been all day, or they've been out working somewhere in a frontline position where they're masked up and they're in PPE all day, generally the last thing you want to do is spend time in a virtual phone bank doing virtual texting for candidates, or on time with other political people doing a Zoom meeting, and yet that's exactly what they've been doing since the summer, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, well said. I ran for office in the primary season, so from January and then till June this year, and I felt like because there were so many things for a new candidate to learn, your energy and your mental capacity was so depleted just trying to keep up with everything.
We just lost them, but he will be back. I think he.
Camera left.
Yeah. Continue.
Yeah, so when you have someone like TJ who's kind of like that linchpin where he kind of knows everything, and from there he can dole out that information. When you have someone that's willing to share the information with you, a wealth of information, a depth of information, it's one of those things that just helps you. And especially when you add in COVID and you're having to figure out how to do Zooms, how to do, like he was saying, virtual text banking, things like that. You can get really tired really quickly. Hey, there you are.
Hey, sorry about that.
That's okay. It happens.
The big rainstorm that we had yesterday has messed up a number of things here in the house, so I apologize if I pop out like that.
Oh, no
That's
worries.
okay. So we were just kind of talking about how when you run for office, how there's a lot of things you have to learn all at once. Like the learning curve
Absolutely.
is real. So when you add in things like having to learn Zoom, having to transition to a totally virtual campaign, how did you go about that? Because I think you're right. We all have adapted pretty quickly, but what was like those first couple of days like when it became real?
So when it first happened, I assumed it was going to be probably a couple of months at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I already knew how to use things like Zoom for video conferencing, and already was well aware of how to sort of keep people together because of other nonprofit groups that I've worked with, where their staying connected electronically was really important. So I actually brought over a lot of the best practices that we had there and just implemented them within Young Dems and within campaigns that I was working with after the primary. A lot of it is what my job became after we realized we were going to be in more of a shutdown situation for the long term, was to manage burnout. And I remember when I was in my early 20s, I burnt myself out in a big way. And I remember how those people sort of helped lift me up and bring me back from burning myself out and coached me to not do it again. So I found myself suddenly in a role that I did not expect to have for quite some time, where I was showing people like, hey, you should take a couple days, you're about to burn out, or hey, why don't you try and focus your energies here because this doesn't seem to be working. What's going to make it work for you? So I think that a lot of candidates did a fantastic job sort of turning on a dime back in the primary and even for the general election, just completely changing how everything was done. And it was a very, very tough battle for a lot of them to sort of make all of those big changes. Because it's not just a change in terms of what you're doing in your actions, but it's a change for what you're prepared for mentally and emotionally. Because it's already so hard to put yourself out there and run for something. Because I think people underplay how much it takes just from yourself in order to put yourself in that vulnerable of a position where you're running for office.
Yeah, for sure. It was hard to... Go ahead, Hagir.
Ask you this question. Thank you for this, but I never asked you how did you feel. I think that would be maybe for another time. But you ran, and losing an election doesn't necessarily mean you lost because you made change. Just like what he's trying to do, you did something, you impacted. And even if there's one person who voted for you, I know I did, and I know many people did vote for you, but those people who voted for you, you made you made sense to them somehow, and you touched their lives somehow. So I think we can talk about that at some point, but thank you, TJ, for bringing this up. Many of the candidates had to deal with this and deal with the aftermath and deal with the new way of campaigning. Like we're just using the phones and the internet more. There's no traditional face-to-face as much as they want to. How do you think this is affect the overall results? And I'm sorry to jump in, Heather. I know your question.
I think that it changes the results because we're so used to, a lot of us. So I'll speak for myself. I'm a huge extrovert. I love seeing and meeting people. It is my favorite thing to do just about all of the time. So that's how a lot of political candidates are. Not all of them, but many of them. And I think that they had to find that spark somewhere else. And most of them, I can't think of any that didn't, but they all really did. They fought through it, and they found something else to inspire them. But I do think that it hurts at the end of the day because it allows people to become more polarized and to sit in deeper echo chambers because they're just stuck on social media and in whatever social network that they had before the pandemic or that is left after the lockdown. Because I think most of us can say that we aren't seeing all of the same friends and acquaintances that we were seeing in February, just because it's harder to stay in contact with people when all you have is Facebook and Instagram and Twitter to, and maybe you're still capable of doing a Zoom meeting with friends, but most people are sort of over most of those right now and they need a break. And that allows people to sort of go and sit in their own little corners and sort of get a little more lost. So I think that's actually not just a challenge we had for November. I think that's a challenge that we're going to see come over the winter and into next spring when hopefully we start to get to come back out of our houses.
That's really fascinating. I never thought about it in terms of the social interaction. I always think about social media in terms of like different people, different forces coming in and either misinformation or disinformation kind of stirring the pot. I never really thought about it in terms of like a lack of actual social interaction being replaced with this kind of more flat kind of interaction on social media, which kind of it changes things. And it changes things for the candidate too.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It changes how they are going to operate in their day-to-day life, and that affects how they're going to run their campaign because their day-to-day life is essential to how their campaign is run.
Yeah, too true. So when you're talking about being an extrovert, that's kind of going along with our theme of using what you're already good at. So do you have natural leadership tendencies? Are you obviously like a go-getter extroversion where it kind of led you to this perfect position where you're at now?
I think that so I'm the oldest of 5 kids in a very loud and boisterous Italian and Irish Catholic family from Delaware County, which meets all the stereotypes that anyone who's watching thinks it does. Like, I should not watch the Goldbergs. It's too similar to watching my family in real life. It's too much. I can't watch it and enjoy it. So there's that. And that taught me how important it is to create consensus to move forward with as little friction as possible. So if we wanted to get anything past our mother, all 5 of us had to at least not appear to be at each other's throats to move on. So now that I manage a committee of 16 for my organization and multiple other interested parties, I find that as long as we don't look like we're all at each other's throats, we can get everything we all want done, which is fantastic. Now, thankfully, there's not nearly as much infighting today with adults as there was between the 5 of us. So I feel like I had my trials and tribulations as a kid compared to what I'm going through now. But I rose up during a difficult moment for my organization and feel that we're in a stronger place now because of this concept that I feel that I and a few other people brought of just doing everything together and making sure we're doing it together publicly and everyone sees us doing it. And then we know that we're also doing it together and we're connected. So I feel that if anybody out there feels that they're really good at pulling people together like that, go find a committee. Like, it doesn't have to be a big, important committee, any committee. And you'll find that the rules are quick and easy to learn, and you're already really good at running a committee because that's what you've always been doing.
I think that a lot of people have, they put their own roadblocks in almost, where they're like, I don't know enough to get involved, or they don't quite know exactly what their specialty is. Are you good in your position at being able to pinpoint, like, oh, she's an organizer. Oh, she might be quiet, but maybe she could do more text banking. We're trying to give people different options on how they can get involved that don't seem so overwhelming or intimidating.
Sure. So I think I ask the same question whenever I see someone that's like, when I see someone struggle, I'm like, what do you actually, like, what's your actual goal? Like, what's the end result that you want to see? And what do you actually already enjoy doing? And if they don't know what that is, the answer is to just try a few different things and see what works for you personally. You're not going to figure it out in an afternoon for most people. I happen to know that I already like things like going around and cold calling people for both fundraising and outreach, and cold calling random voters and convincing them to vote for the candidate that I'm calling about. I enjoy those things. Very few people enjoy those things. You all probably don't enjoy those things. And that's fine. There are so many jobs that you can choose from. So if you're struggling to find out where your skills work best, it's not about finding the job that matches your skills. It's about finding where your skills and your passion have a happy medium and they can work together. Because if you're doing a job and you don't have any passion in it, and you're doing it as a volunteer or in politics, it's never going to work for you, and you'll end up burning out.
True, true. So when you look back on the last season, what do you think you did right? And what do you think that you need to, or even us as in Central PA politics, local politics to us, what do we need to do different?
I think that a lot of us are taking time to dissect what we did right and wrong. To like this is a good and healthy conversation. I think some people are trying to go too far and talking about 2022, and I'm like, all right, you've already done two very very not healthy things for us. One, you should think a little more before you wrote that comment, maybe, and how it affects the people that are going to read it, not just sharing your idea and stating your opinion, but actually considering the audience that's going to see it beyond the people that you can already see that have commented. And also to skip over 2021, because next year Pennsylvania has a huge number of elections. We've got Pennsylvania Supreme Court justices, we have Commonwealth judges, we have common pleas judges for most counties, and then even down all the way to the precinct level, like your local polling station, you have to elect a judge of elections and then a minority and majority inspector of elections. So there's a lot going on in 2021. There's a lot of work to do between now and then. There's a lot of work everyone in Central PA can do, even right now, for the runoff races in Georgia, where they need every single volunteer they can possibly get. And you don't necessarily have to go down to Georgia, but you can participate virtually. You can do postcards again. Some people donate money, which is their thing, and that's fine too. And some of us will be on our computers making phone calls to people in Georgia, asking them to make sure that they're ready to vote on January 5th. But I think it's very important for Central PA to make sure that they use this time post-election to work on how they can work together as a group, not how they can necessarily beat the Republicans, because that'll just happen if you're already working better together as a group. Because the stronger your local group is, the stronger your county group is, the stronger your regional organizations and relationships are, the better you're going to perform as an organization. And that's going to translate into more votes on election day.
Beautifully said. That's just kind of a good, mindset to have for everything. Because if we're thinking about things in terms of not just election seasons, but just in terms of always kind of being in participating and being in your local scene, that's kind of where you want to be. So where does PA Young Dems, how are they different than other organizations?
So we're actually an organization that falls inside the Pennsylvania Democratic Party and slightly outside of it as well. We are the official youth caucus of the state party, so I'm like the chair of the youth caucus for the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. But we're also chartered with the Young Democrats of America, which is just an affiliate of the DNC. It's not like a part of it. So we are in the party structure, but we're we meet much more frequently than the entirety of state committee. They only meet once a quarter. You'll see us have events on a regular basis, and we try and add in some sort of social and networking aspects to what we do, in addition to any just party work. So we're sort of a stepping stone for anybody that's under 40. And we have plenty of people who show up who are over 42, and we are always happy to have Young Dems at heart join us. But we sort of, sit on both sides of the line, and both play inside party politics and work to affect change outside as well.
Okay. I was going to ask you to define youth, but I guess you just did.
It's clearly defined in our rules that you have to be under the age of 40. Nationally, it's under the age of 36, but a lot of states, like Pennsylvania, have changed that to 40.
Okay, got it. I don't feel young, but whatever.
That are over 40 can go.
What's that?
The people over 40, where they can go.
So if they don't already know where to go, you can show up for our stuff. There's a woman in Philadelphia who's been showing up to meetings since I started showing up when I was showing up in Philadelphia a few years ago, and she comes to everything and does all of her volunteer work through, not all of it, but a lot of it through the Young Dems, just because she enjoys hanging out with us and we enjoy her hanging out with us too, and that's perfectly fine. It's not necessarily about, finding the right group because of your age. It's finding the group that works best for you personally. So for some people, that could be something like Young Dems. That could be starting a new county chapter or helping restart their county chapter because it's gone inactive for Young Dems. It could also mean joining a group. I think it's called, I'm going to try and remember. It's either Sunrise or Sunshine organization, where they work primarily on organizing just around things like the environment. So there could be something that you're passionate that you want to do, and that's what you should go and find.
I think that's the main reason I this question is because a lot of people don't know about the election in 2021. Many people we talk to, they only know November 3rd, every 4 years. They vote for the primary and mainly just that election. Anything in between, it's not just being ignorant, but I don't think we did a good job of making those information readily available. Like for example, now in 2021, do we have a place that we have all the offices with description on, all right, this office help you this way. If you vote for this office and you got the right person, your taxes, your this, your that, we have this information in a simple form so listeners go to and find the information and find a way to help and be proactive.
So it's actually something that's actually a productive thing that came up in a Facebook comment probably a week or so ago. And I then decided to go out and contact a few people about putting together a seminar for people specifically for 2021 that'll hopefully either be the first or the third week of December. We're just trying to figure out what'll work with everyone's schedule so we can arrange a couple of events all in the same couple of days. So there will be one where we'll invite anybody who wants to come, obviously, in for free to learn about what elections will be happening in Pennsylvania in 2021 and the requirements to run for office and what the responsibilities of many of those jobs are. Some of them are specific to the county. Like county commissioners in Delaware County are not going to be the same as they are in Lancaster County, are not the same as they are in Dauphin, Lackawanna, Luzerne, Erie, Allegheny. I'm not going to name all 67 counties, but they're all very, very different. And that's going to be important. And each county and locality has different elections happening in 2021. But we can show everyone where the information is going to come out. We can show them how to find out exactly what it means. And we can show them what they need to do if it's something that they think that they want to run for, or where they want to help someone else run for that office in 2021.
Is
How
it
did you get involved?
a writing format? Because not everyone will like to sit in here or.
Yeah, most people are not going to want to sit and listen to someone like me drone on for 90 minutes about the lovely, lovely way that you get petitions signed so you can show up on the ballot and then the process that follows. But once that is done, there will be hopefully some handouts that people will have been able to create from those talks when we see what questions we get back from people. I don't want to hand out something right now that's incomplete and then go and give an information session and get a bunch of feedback and be like, oh, right, no one actually knows that you have to get petitions done to get on a ballot. I should have probably mentioned that it's an essential part of running for any office in Pennsylvania because it's the only way really to get on the ballot. And to answer the other question, I got started because I showed up at a Young Dems meeting and someone said hello, shook my hand, and then 5 other people did the same thing. And I suddenly had a small group of new friends. So I wasn't someone that was wandering around aimlessly with no friends. I just happened to decide, hey, this looks like a fun meeting. I'll go to it. And it was cool. And I met some really great people. And it took me to some fantastic places in a very short period of time.
Do you find that most people kind of have like an issue they care about and that propels them? Like that's how I came to run for office. Was I obviously had experiences that weren't being reflected and then issues that were just kind of sitting on the table year after year, and then you get enough almost like fire under you to propel you forward. Is that how you think a lot of people find you?
I think that's how a lot of people get to their first meeting, and then they find out that there's so much work to do that they either are able to still focus on that issue, or if they're like me, they're like, oh, no, I'm going to sit here and fix this other problem now instead. So I came in, and I'm still very passionate about college debt and the cost of college, and how most families in Pennsylvania can't afford to send their kids to college.
Right.
And how people my age are still dealing with college debt and how that situation is only getting worse. But I very rarely actually get to talk about or address that issue because I decided to spend a lot of my time and focus my energy on fixing structural problems within the internal Democratic Party so that everyone can have a voice and everybody can have the best party working for them.
That's a beautiful example of what we're trying to get across. Some people might sit there and they might take one issue and just drive it home until it's done. They might say, you know, minimum wage is what I'm interested in. They're going to get connected with different people that are already brought that to the fore, already voted on it in the past, and just kind of see it the whole way through. And then there's other people that if that's not really your thing and you want to work as a part of a team and kind of go like big picture and look down, that's available to you as well. And you don't have to commit to, you know, the world. You just have to start. You just have to pick one place and start. And that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely, for sure. And each of those voices, when they come in, even if it's just somebody to come in and fight for a $15 minimum wage, and that's all they're there for, I'm always happy to have them for every moment they're willing to give. And that's something that everybody needs to keep in mind all the time.
So I think I'm getting from you that we're going to regroup. We're going to spend some time and kind of regroup, come together, kind of look back. And then what are you most looking forward to?
I think for me, the thing I'm looking forward to the most is sort of next summer when I think we'll be through the entirety of the primary process and then having relaxed a little bit after the primary. That way we can sort of go pedal to the metal from July into November of 2021 and show people that there's still hope, that, you know, we were able to turn Pennsylvania blue for Joe Biden. We missed a couple other steps, but we have a lot of good stuff coming. We have redistricting coming in 2021 that'll take effect for the races in 2022. And I think that we can give people a lot of hope by what happens in the primary and then over next summer when we can sort of hopefully get people back out of their shells a little bit once things are a little bit safer.
I honestly think that anything you pull together in December is going to be huge. Running for office, there's like
You have a
separate list of things I had to do, and even with the internet being what it is, it was really hard for me to piece together like what were the legitimate steps. Like we need a cheat sheet.
Yeah, there are a lot of sources you have to go through to find every step and not miss them. And I won't even pretend that I know all of them. I just know the ones that sort of sit in the area that I chose to sort of specialize in. But then I know people who know all of the other areas. So that's what we'll hopefully get through in December and get people all excited for what they can do throughout 2021.
That's super exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, I definitely will. I will make sure I let both of you know.
And just one more thing, like, we need to learn from our mistakes. Like we made mistakes, and we learn like Eugene Lena. There's things that we should have done that we didn't. There are things that we need to not just take the same, oh, we're going to do for providing. We also need to look back as a party to see where did we come short. And just waiting until the election. And I don't know why we have like a background noise. I hear it twice.
No, but I do hear your question, and I share your concern. I think that it's not actually a problem that the individual campaigns run into, more, as much as it is what I was sort of talking about earlier. But I'll go into a little more detail. One of the things that I've seen popping up in different social media circles has been the idea that, you know, we spend all of this money on campaign infrastructure that pops up overnight, and then after election day, it just disappears. And that is one of our biggest struggles. because the Democratic Party is constantly a changing organism, which is why it's the Big Ten party. It's why we continue to exist in the state that we exist in a good way. I think that it would benefit us if we saw our county organizations, even some of our local organizations, depending on the size of the municipality, actually develop more year-round and permanent staff to help develop the party in those areas. Because we have a lot of voters, and a lot of times they just don't come to the polls with we have a lot of voters that support us already. They don't always come to the polls with all of the information, or there are other people out there with misinformation or trying to, make them afraid of voting one way or the other or unsure. And I think that if we work on the fundamentals of operating in a day-to-day fashion, that we will see most of the mistakes that we make are completely insignificant.
Thank you. Beautiful. That's what I want to hear and see, so we can have something going on year round and getting people to volunteer and finding difference and the weakness. Like, for example, I get a million of posts. I can say I did a lot of action, but I hate phone calls. So throughout, this is one text. I do my emailing, I watch, I do volunteer, do money. So we have to find those people and just do that. And then other things, other issues that I need on this election, with system people, with the text messaging, there is the answer that needs to be addressed. But anyway, this is not the end of our conversation with you. We will love to have you again, as we're going to carry this all the way until the issues are resolved, 2026. But anytime you have a minute that you can hop in, or there's information that you want us to know, or our listeners, please let us know. And as soon as we have a website or pamphlets or those information, we will be sharing them with everyone listening to us as well. And hopefully we get that ball rolling and we can have a very smooth 2021 year to follow election. Heather.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you have John, he's creative, and that's kind of his wheelhouse. You got TJ, he's a leader, he's a connector. That's exactly what you are too, Hagir. You kind of bring everyone together. You're a caretaker. All of those little pieces all come together to create something that's so much bigger than just an election season. And so we've got to come together, just do your one little small part, and promise as a part of something bigger, as we just saw in the last election. It's going to make or break us. So it doesn't matter. Grow where you're planted. Find out what you're good at. If you're just good at, like I'm not big on protesting, but I will write 500 letters. I fall somewhere between the two of you. I'll make calls if that's what's needed. So whatever you're good at, just do that. Do it once, see how it feels. Do it with a friend, and then from there, just let it keep growing. What do you think, TJ?
I think that is absolutely fantastic advice. I think that we will see a smooth 2021 as long as we all put in the work. And if you show up, there's always work to be done.
Well said.
Perfect. And before you go, this is one of the things that we're going to do here, is helping with the Georgia election, because this is vital. If there's any information, connection that you have, or a place that we can all contact and get, like, just like the volunteers with the turn blue or PA, stand up PA, all those, text through.
So there's actually a bunch of Mobilize links. A lot of people who volunteer for the campaign here in PA will remember Mobilize. It's where you would go and you'd sign up for whatever you were doing, and you just put in a little information, and then you get an email with all the information on the event you'd signed up for. Those links are getting put out already I'm just looking right now to see if they're there. But I know the Young Democrats of Georgia, who did a lot of work for the general election, have already started putting up Mobilize links. Fair Fight Action, I believe, is Stacey Abrams' organization, and they are absolutely fantastic down there. But those are the two places I send people right now. I tell them to go check that out, and then also to go to the two candidates' websites, because they'll also have the best information for the best volunteer opportunities. You're not going to get better options in Georgia outside of those three areas. So the candidates' websites, Stacey Abrams' organization with Fair Fight Action, I believe it is, and then the Young Democrats of Georgia. Those are the three places that you're going to want to go. And when they're doing something, that's going to be the most effective place to spend your time, donate your money, and share to other people and organizations that you know.
Perfect.
Top great. Mm-hmm.
We will share all those sites, and if you have any sites that you want us to share, also send it to us. But we will be talking to people again about the election in Georgia and having them do something.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for having me today. I've really enjoyed the time. Thank you again.
You, Heather, you want to end?
Yeah, thank you so much, TJ. That was perfect. It's kind of nice to talk about all the different areas, go big picture, and then you're actually here. You're actually on the ground. You gave us really good advice. I think that our main takeaways are, don't forget about Georgia. We're going to be talking about it a lot in the next couple of weeks. Take everything that we can kind of use that as our practice run. So if you've never text banked before, if you've never phone banked before, if Mobilize is new to you through text, writing postcards, contact us. We'll help you. We can do it together over Zoom. We can fun. We can drop off some postcards to you and some stamps. Let's use that as a practice dipping our toe in the water of using our strengths to make change. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys were fantastic. And I think that was helpful.
Thank you, TJ.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you. And we will see you next week.